today, Ptah Hotep. Every day at the museum we celebrate the saint of the day, and today for pagans it is an amazing Egyptian sage called Ptah Hotep. Hotep was ancient Egyptian for peace, so this means the peace of Ptah. Ptah is the great architect of the universe, the creator god. And Ptah Hotep was a real person who lived in the 25th century BC. He was a vizier, prime minister, first minister, during the reign of Jedkare Yesi, the pharaoh in the 5th dynasty. And he wrote the first ever book in the history of the world that's come down. It's called The Instructions of Ptah Hotep. And it's an educational manual for younger people. He's buried with his descendants at Saqqara. His tomb has been found. And I love this guy. He wrote the first book in history, the sayings of Ptah Hotep. And he talks about wisdom. It's known as a wisdom writing, like Proverbs and Psalms and so on. And he says that truth is the thing that keeps everything together. Maat, the goddess of truth and justice. And his writing is about how, if we're faithful to Maat, she is the daughter of the primordial tradition of being. And she symbolizes cosmic order and social harmony. So he wrote this book as an advice to his people in the hopes of maintaining the worship of Maat, which is social order and justice. Now, I think that's very interesting that that's today when I'm sharing this news. Because Maat is the very principle that I'm talking about, which Hegel was talking about. This intellectual universality, when you realise that the goddess is in all of us, the God energy, Ptah, the divine creator, is in all of us. So that's where ethics comes from. So we must never attack violently other people aggressively, unless we have the right to self-defense. But attacking Iran is not self-defense. It's completely opposite. It's aggression. So anyway, Ptah Hotep is today's saint of the day, and I think it's very interesting that Egypt, with its own wisdom traditions, the Hermetic traditions, is part of this conversation. They have their own eschatology about future saviors, messiahs, and so on. And I think that's why they eventually accepted Christianity, because they saw Christ as fulfilling that mission. And if he was partly educated in Egypt, as seems to be the case, then he also studied the Hermetic mysteries. So the idea of this council, WUMASC, is to bring together representatives and thinkers to discuss this issue. Because I don't think we're going to get peace on this planet till the truly enlightened people who are still in incarnation actually come together and agree a sort of overall peace plan for humanity, which we can put to the political authorities. I mean, some people say there's a need for a world government. My friend Professor Glenn Martin and Igor from Athens and others on the World Intellectual Forum are saying, no, we need a world government. Okay, but for that we have to find self-governance first. We have to find ethics, morality. And so self-governance is the ethical secret that we're looking for. And I think WUMASC can help us find that. So anyway, this is all just to tell you it's another project of a truth-building exercise. So if you know or come across anyone that's speaking from the mind of Maitreya, or speaking from the mind of Kalki, or speaking from the mind of the Saoshant, or speaking from the mind of the Messiah, or speaking from the mind of Christ, any genuine person, and I mean genuine, then please get in touch with me and we'll invite them onto the council. We have a small, very distinguished and interesting council forming at the moment. And I've taken the initiative, I'm quite a busy man, but somebody's got to do it, and please help me. And finally, I want to finish with the last strategy for counter countering lies. And this is my work I'm doing with the Jain community of India, who are wonderful people. I love the Jains. They're waiting for their Tirthankara, who's going to be the next Mahavira, so to speak. I love the Jains, whose mission will be just non-violence. And that's really, please, if you find a Tirthankara, get in touch with me. Meanwhile, we've got Mahavira's disciples, and we're organising a conference in India in December. I'm helping with the academic input into this. We've got a brilliant conference on non-violence. It's called the ICPNA, the International Conference on Peace and Non-Violent Action. We'll be meeting in Delhi in December. I think it's around about the 16th to the 20th of December. Please contact me if you'd like an invite. We'd like to invite you to Delhi to come and talk about everything I've been saying. Philosophically, how can we create conditions of peace and non-violence on the planet? How can we get the greatest minds who are in incarnation at the moment to come together instead of, waving bombs, threats and fighting each other? Lay these bombs down, come to Delhi, talk about peace and enlightenment. In the Jain view, you can't reach enlightenment unless you're adopting non-violence and ahimsa. So we'll be discussing ahimsa. What is it? How can we get it? And how can the saints and sages of mankind come together now and create a world of ahimsa? So our mission is quite ambitious, very simple. We want a world of planetary enlightenment, that's nirvana, samadhi, whatever you want to call it, and a world of planetary non-violence. I think it's possible. These human beings are capable of enlightenment and non-violence. But they do need to be trained and educated, and that's what Hegel was talking about. They need to be educated out of ego, self-advancement, to universalistic love, compassion, kind of enlightenment. And that's why Hegel said true education is liberation. It's liberation in the same way that the Jains mean liberation. And Jain means liberated, victorious. So that's the plan. I've laid out the strategy. Those are the 14 countermeasures I'm involved with. If you want to get involved, you're deeply welcome. I have guests come, stay here in the Peace Museum in France, help with it. We need some both intellectual help. If you want to help with funding, we need funding, for instance, for charitable work. I have friends in Palestine and elsewhere that are very poor and very sick, can't afford medicines. It's scandalous. Please, if you can afford a small donation, please, you can look on my website, which is educationaid.net, which is a project for basically educational charitable work. So any donations are gratefully received and handed on. Right, so that's it. I'm going to stop there. May the gods protect us all. May the wisdom of Mart preserve this world. And may all those that are seeking malevolent violence for egotistical, ignorant purposes, do the, wake-up thing. And let's get the planet on a more enlightened track. Okay, thank you.